Hello everyone, welcome again. In the last section, you discussed with Mornay policies to handle subsistence informality. Here we're going to move to another group of informal workers, voluntary informal workers. Voluntary informal workers are those workers that decide to be informal after performing a cost-benefit analysis. But then you can ask, well, if they're deciding to be informal, aren't they better off by being informal? And yes, you're right in a number of ways. But from an economical point of view, there are a number of studies that show that workers are better off by taking the formal path. But this is an open discussion. What is not an open discussion is the impact of voluntary informality over the economy as a whole. Voluntary informality increases corruption, lowers productivity of the economy as a whole, and it lowers also the income received by the state. After all, those are free riders to the system. What concerns us here is to find ways to fight this type of informality. Another way to face voluntary informality is by flexibilizing formal jobs. In fact, in the surveys, the people show strong preference for flexible hours, and this is a growing trend. In fact, attached you will find an article from the LA Times that shows that the millennials have a strong preference for partial times and flexible hours works, and if we don't provide them formal jobs, flexible formal jobs, then they're going to be informal. So there is something that is possible to work in. And in the case of Colombia, you can either work 0 hours or for 40 hours. And there is not much flexibility. And we have an article or a video attached here that includes a solution also to this type of problem. One of the most suggested ways to fight voluntary informality is by monitoring and control. If you apply this policy to businessmen or professionals that are evading taxes, it can be very effective. However, if you apply it to workers that wouldn't find a formal job, you can be creating a social problem. So this is a policy that has pros and cons, and I think that we're going to have a very enriching discussion around this. There is an article that is attached to this post from Ray Brumley that has very interesting views about enforcing informality over street vendors. Finally, we have an article from Santiago Levy that shows the problems of the social policy that creates perverse incentives to informality. In fact, we find that a number of workers are at the same time informal voluntary workers and subsistence informality workers. So I think that we can also have a very interesting discussion around this. Well, so I think that we have a nice set of policy and a nice set of discussion. The policies have all the pros and the cons. So I think that we have a very enrichment discussion. I hope that you participate, and I'll see you through these 2 weeks.